Thank you, Council President, for organizing this meeting, and thank you all for joining us, although I wish it were on a better occasion. Related to timing, it's sad, I think, that we in Rockville, the County Council and the County Executive are evaluating cutting $46 million from the current operating budget. At the same time, today we're talking about $7.2 million that was stolen from the county over a series of years. As a former journalist and a former executive director of a nonprofit, as I was reading the IG report, I just kept writing transparency, exclamation point, and wow, because it's screaming for oversight, and it is lacking, and that's the focus of today's conversation. And the one thing that the IG report says is that the writing was on the wall and that nobody read it. And I have a series of questions, and I'll limit them because I know my colleagues have other questions they want to ask. So my first question, and I hope you're able to answer them. My first question is about the timeline that's presented in the IG report. In April of 2017, the county attorney's office received a summons from the IRS requesting records related to Mr. Bang's work. In May of 2017, a representative from the state's attorney's office met with the county's inspector general to discuss the criminal investigation into Mr. Bang's actions. And in June of 2017, evidence of misappropriation was discovered, and the report says that Mr. Bang was subsequently fired. When was he fired?
I believe he was terminated on June 12th, 2017.
So he was terminated on June 12th, 2017, which is essentially what, without stating that date, that's what the report says. So my question is, why did the general public, me included, only read and learn about the egregious activity on November 16th of 2018, almost a year and a half after the fact?
John Markos, Deputy County Attorney. During the time from early April when we got the summons, I reached out to the state's attorney's office, so did Mr. Hanson, the county attorney, and we were told to allow Mr. Bang to stay in his employment for a short period of time while they continued to investigate and execute a search warrant against his property. And during that same time, we were instructed not to do a full-blown investigation with interviews of third parties, including county employees, until the state's attorney and the United States attorney that was doing a concurrent federal investigation of Mr. Bang for tax fraud had concluded their investigations and had met with and talked to witnesses before our office or Mr. Blancett's office got involved. And that investigation took a significant portion of time to be completed by the feds and the state's attorney's office.
Do you know when those investigations were concluded?
They concluded their investigations literally on the eve of the plea deal with Mr. Bang. He did plead guilty. So they were actually in plea negotiations also at the same time they were continuing their investigation, and we're not privy to their investigatory files or when they actually finished their investigation, but they were working with Mr. Bang's lawyer right up till the plea deal, which just happened.
Yeah, if I can add, yeah, we continued to be in touch with the state's attorney's office at various points in time, and we were hopeful that this plea deal would have been concluded early on. But as time went on, other issues came up, including the need for them to trace certain repayments to Korea. And that seemed to have taken an inordinately long time. There was some thought in our minds that the repayment of the $2 million to Korea may not have actually gone back to the Korean government. And so the criminal investigation pursued that lead, but it evidently took them a long time to determine whether or not those funds actually did go back to the Korean government, and various other issues that associated with the criminal investigation evidently took longer than we had hoped they would. So it dragged on a lot longer than than we thought that might take.
I had heard various theories shared with me about why it took a year and a half or why it wasn't shared until November 16th, but thank you for clarifying that information. My second question is about hidden pots of money that are explained in the IG report. It states that the special reserve account, and to quote it, circumvented management controls established by the county government, avoided transparency and oversight, and that this was possible through a 1998 grant agreement and 1998 trust indenture that establishes off-book accounts. So my series of questions related to that is, how many off-book accounts does the county currently have? Has the Inspector General done a review of these accounts? How are these accounts managed? And how do we update these 1998 procedures so that this doesn't happen again?
We have not reviewed thoroughly all of the county's accounts. We've only looked at that specific issue. So we haven't looked to see if there are other pockets like that. Is there a possibility that some might exist? It's certainly a possibility that other agreements like that could exist, but we think this would be an anomaly at this particular time. And we also understand that the agreement that set this one up is in process of being terminated, or has been terminated. It has been.
Mr. Blansick, yeah, for some reason the microphones are not working very well, so you have to turn them off for somebody to turn theirs on.
So I guess to our knowledge, based on all the reviews that have taken place so far, it appears that this Medco arrangement is a unique circumstance. So we haven't come across any other kind of similar situation. We have been, over the course of the past year and a half, restructuring our relationship with Medco and the incubators. They are no longer our agent with respect to managing the 3 county incubators at Rockville, Germantown, and Silver Spring. That relationship terminated at the end of December. So we've restructured our relationship with them. We've taken over the debt that was outstanding with respect to 2 of the incubators, so now the county holds that directly, and is not using Medco as a conduit.
Telling us that we think it's an anomaly is not very comforting. And if we haven't looked, I would encourage us to look, because $7.2 million in hidden money is what we're talking about today, and if we haven't looked, we're not going to find anything else. Wishing and praying isn't going to unearth it either. My final question is about the evaluation process, which was briefly alluded to. The report states that there was financial mismanagement due to problems collecting timely rent payments from the licensees of the incubator programs, and that Mr. Bang had direct management over that operation. But despite his mismanagement, he received, quote, the highest possible performance evaluation from 2 of his bosses. So during Mr. Bang's tenure with the county, was there ever performance evaluation stating concerns or questioning his ability with maybe any negative comments? Has anyone looked at past performance during his tenure?
We did not have access to the personnel records.
Okay. Again, that doesn't make me feel confident in the county's evaluation process. So that leads me to ask, how do staff complaints about management get documented? What exactly are the metrics for performance evaluations for senior management? And quite frankly, where is the accountability when staff members receive good performance for what we know is a lousy job, an illegal job?
Councilman, I share your concerns. I'm 1 month in. Those are certainly things I'll be looking into.
I'll let my colleagues ask the questions I know they have. Thank you.